Whew. Okay, as perhaps you can guess, based on how I look, it's cold. Or at least for me it's cold. I don't know what the exact temperature is, but it's very chilly. Well, hi there. Welcome to Mud Walkers. I'm Chris. Today we're going to be talking about lust. There's this big word that comes up a lot in discussing naturism with Christians, and that's the word lust. Often the verse that's brought up is the one from the Sermon on the Mount, the one from Matthew, where Jesus says, "You have heard it said, whoever commits adultery, etc., etc." And then he says, "But I say to you, if you look at a woman with lust, you've committed adultery already with her in your heart." Now, I like the ESV rendition of that phrase because it says, if you look at a woman with lustful intent. That is more the sense of the Greek term there. And if you look up that Greek term, you'll find it's also used in, I believe it's Luke, at the Last Supper. Jesus, Yeshua, tells his students, "I have eagerly longed to share this meal with you." Well, the word he uses there is lust. It's the same, or lustful intent, the same one from the Sermon on the Mount. Well, clearly Jesus wasn't lusting after his students or for the food or for the occasion or whatever. So what this term is getting at in these two different places is that you have an intense desire and you form an intention to fulfill that desire. Jesus desired, he longed to share this meal with his students, so he formed an intention to fulfill that desire. So the way that I might render the phrase in both places is something like desirously intended, longingly intended, that kind of thing. So that would be how I would define lust. And let me paint the two different models of lust in an analogy. So let's say, I'm married, but let's say that my wife tells me she's got this glorious dinner planned for me tonight. And she says, "But I don't want you to eat anything between breakfast and dinner. I want you to be very hungry so you enjoy it that much more." "Okay, honey, I will not eat anything till I get home later." Well, then on the way home, let's say that I drive past a burger joint and I can smell the food. My belly starts to rumble and it's filling up all of my whole nervous system is just tingling with the smell of these burgers. I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten since breakfast. If any of you know me personally, you know I have a big appetite, I love to eat. So this analogy should come through pretty strong. But I really feel that I want to eat a burger, and I sit at the red light and I say, "You know what? Deep breath, I'm going straight home and I'm gonna have this dinner with my wife." And I go home and I eat, fulfill my promise. Okay, let's rewind back to the same red light. Already, as soon as I feel that longing, some people would call that lust. I say no. And here's the other model, the one that I'm presenting here. At the red light, let's say I smell it, I want it, and I decide, you know what, I'm going to go through the drive-through, she'll never know, etc., etc. I can just go through, I can go in real quick, I can pay, I can eat in the parking lot. It's just a small burger just to tide me over, and I'll still eat loads of food when I get home. Well, then I get up to the drive-through, and it turns out the restaurant's closed for the night. Have I done anything wrong? Have I broken my promise? Well, according to Jesus' use of this term in both places in the New Testament here, Matthew and Luke, yes, I already broke my promise. Because I had longed for it, and I had formed a plan, I formed an intention to fulfill that desire. That's wrong. Now, as you can imagine, keeping that promise is pretty easy. Keeping the promise to not form an intention to go and eat something that my wife didn't cook for me that night for my big glorious dinner is fairly simple, fairly easy. However, demanding that I not feel hungry when I smell food is unreasonable. The same goes for lust. Finding another person attractive or admitting to yourself that they are eye-catching, that this person drew your visual attention, this person drew you in somehow, not wrong. It's not wrong to feel attracted to people. What's wrong is forming an intention. Let's say, now making it explicit, making it exactly what we're talking about. let's say I go to the bank and I'm waiting in line, and there is a pretty physically attractive woman in line next to me. I could think, she's pretty, do my business and get out of the bank and go home. Or I could think, I bet there's an opening line I could use. Oh yeah, that one. That was great. Back when I was dating, that was a big hit. I could use that, get in a little conversation while we're waiting in line forever. Maybe we'll get into a little bit more conversation, decide we want to get some coffee, and then maybe next week we can actually make something happen here. As soon as I turn around and open my mouth to talk to her, that's my intention. That's wrong. That's what I'm talking about. That is what Jesus is getting at when he says lustful intent in your heart. As soon as you turn around, form an intention, you actually begin the first little smidgens of trying to do that thing. You've committed that sin. That is wrong. Don't do that. That's pretty easy. Like, most of what the Bible requires of us, most of what Yahweh requires of us is easy. It's pretty easy in the moment. You just say no. You do the other thing. That's all I've got for y'all today. That's how I look at lust, and I think that's my big answer for people who bring lust from the Bible when I talk about naturism. It's actually really easy not to lust after people when you properly define it based on the Bible. God bless y'all. Have a great week.